And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Friday, April 18th. I am Josh Engleman here to break down a two-game slate, the final two games of the play-in. Miami at Atlanta. Loser goes home. Winner gets to get swept or gentleman sweep against Cleveland. Dallas, 6-point dogs in Memphis, 220 total. Loser goes home. Winner, if it's Dallas, gets swept against OKC. If it's Memphis, gentleman sweep. But that's where we're at for right now. Interesting pick protection stuff going on for today's games as well. Lots to talk about, lots to break down. First two slates were fun enough. Let's hope we get them again here today. How are you guys doing? Hit the like button if you're here. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. And follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. We got shows all day. You get me for Live Before Lock again. Playback. We're going to have fun. We got good basketball. Or at least something resembling good basketball. We get good basketball tomorrow, that's for sure. I hope you guys are excited about tomorrow because I know I am. 4-game slate. I'm imagining. I haven't looked to see if it's up yet. 4 games. Bucks Pacers at 1 o'clock. Clippers Nuggets at 3:30. Pistons Knicks at 6. Wolves Lakers late night hammer at 8:30. God, tomorrow's going to be great. And then Sunday. Winner of the Dallas-Memphis game in OKC at 1 o'clock. Magic Celtics at 3:30. Winner of Miami-Atlanta in Cleveland at 7. Warriors Rockets at 9:30. Man, we got some good basketball coming up here. Phil Demore says, Josh, who is your pick to win it all? That's easy. I am going to be taking the Oklahoma City Thunder over the Boston Celtics. I think the Thunder are the best team in basketball. I think they have the ability to play the most ways. I wish they would have gotten another creator at the deadline. I think they made a mistake not shoring up their rotations, but I lean OKC. Sneak peek leaks. You're joking, right? Me? I don't really believe what? That Oklahoma City is my pick? Oh. What are we doing here? Why are we acting like that's a controversial pick? Right now, Oklahoma City has the shortest odds to win the title? I didn't think that picking the favorite to win the NBA title would have someone tell me I'm crazy in chat, but man, I thought I saw everything when it's come to YouTube chat, but man, you guys never cease to amaze me. Let's break this bad boy down, shall we? Let me get one more sip of the old Gatorades here. There we go. The Miami Heat are 1-point underdogs in Atlanta. 218 total. Heat coming in off their win. Atlanta, obviously, not. We don't have a ton of ownership coming into Miami right now, which I find interesting. 112%. They are by far the lowest projected owned team. This looks very different than the first two games did, or the first 2 days, rather. Atlanta is the highest owned team. Dallas is a little bit below the average, and then Memphis is a little bit above it. Ronald Hill, Josh, who's your favorite sleeper to win it all? I don't have one. I don't think that anybody wins it outside of the Thunder or the Celtics. I mean, to me, like the Cavs would be the sleeper. I don't think anybody else has a chance. The only team that wouldn't ever surprise me is Denver, and I don't think they're good enough to do it, but I just don't want to bet against Jokic. Anyway, back to Miami. My dog's being so weird. Back to Miami. So nobody's pulling all that much ownership. Nobody got into the top 10 on the DraftKings side. Andrew Wiggins did on FanDuel because he's $800 cheaper. So we'll touch on the FanDuel side of Andrew Wiggins in a second. But you can see it on the screen. I didn't even get 20% of anybody from Miami to start. Highest owned guys are Wiggins and Bam, both at 21%. We have Wiggins as a slightly better play, ranks 15th. Bam ranks 18th. Wiggins has the MPE across both forward positions, 23% optimal, whereas Bam, power forward center only, power forward center eligible, 9,200, 17% optimal. So I would lean Wiggins there too. I'm obviously slightly under the field on Wiggins, well under the field on Bam Adebayo here, even in 38 minutes. Just not grading out very well. I'm a little surprised, if I'm being honest. Yeah, Steven, don't worry. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. $9,200 is a big price tag for Bam. Not that he doesn't deserve it, because surely he does. But if we're talking about other pay-ups today, we've got AD at 10K as the clear top pay-up. I don't even think that's up for debate. Then you've got these two Heat guys in Bam and Hero sitting at 9,200 and 9,100. And then you've got Trae Young at 8,800, who just looks infinitely better than Tyler Hero does and infinitely better than Bam. And he's cheaper than both of those guys. Even Ja as a value or Bane as a value look better than Bam and Hero. I think these guys are like $200 or $300 overpriced. Like on the FanDuel side, Hero's the same price. He's more owned, but that's because of the way the positions work on FanDuel. One, you have an extra one. Two, you have to have 2 point guards and 2 shooting guards. Similarly, Bam, 34% owned on FanDuel. There, Bam is $400 cheaper. So you get the better price tag and the better positional setup. At that point, I get it. But on DraftKings, I don't think they look amazing. Like, clearly you're rostering Bam in here. Like, if you're playing 20, let's say you're in a 20 max. Like, yeah, you're getting Hero and Bam in some of those lineups. They don't seem like they're going to be priority plays for me. Alec Burks got the Keith Bogans in the first play-in. Just played at the beginning of the first quarter, beginning of the third quarter. 3,600 point guard, shooting guard eligible. He's 5% owned. That's about all you could really expect out of him. You know, could he get a couple extra minutes? Of course. Do you expect him to? Not really. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they changed up the starting lineup. Don't know that for sure, obviously, but wouldn't be surprised. And then you get Khalil Ware, 5,700, center only, 13% optimal, 12% owned. We're talking about a guy who, at least in this matchup, you know, you could see them going to a couple extra minutes of Ware. Atlanta runs the double bigs pretty regularly. Ware's minutes are just a testament of how good Miami's running with the double bigs out there. You know, you see a lot of 21, 22-minute games for Ware, and then you see him get 28 or 29. We got him in for 24 right now. I think he's like very reasonable in that 10% range. Davion Mitchell just plays massive minutes off the bench. This past game was no different. Not to mention he was going to close. Yeah, pull that up. So, Davion Mitchell checked in the midway point of the third quarter, never left the floor again, finished the third quarter, started the fourth quarter, played the entire fourth quarter until they pulled everybody for the blowout run for that final minute and change. So you're expecting massive minutes out of Davion Mitchell. He's just a bad per minute guy. 0.75, 5,500. But 15% optimal, 15% owned, 15% of my lineups. That all looks fine. The discussion we need to have right now is around the rest of their rotation. And it kind of starts here. Pelle Larsson and Nikola Jovic are both questionable again for today. Do I know if they're playing? Of course not. Does it matter right now? No. We'll know these things before the game starts. I think Jovic will be ahead of Larsson. I think we could ignore Larsson for this example. I do think Jovic, if he's available, could be playing. I mean, we're talking about a guy that was a legitimate part of their rotation before he got injured. We would be projecting him for minutes right now if he never broke his hand. Whether or not he's going to get them now, though, is a different question. Because of that, the rest of this rotation gets a little weird. So we saw Haywood Highsmith be the first guy off the bench, subbed in for Kel'el Ware, but he really didn't play a ton in that first quarter. Got a 2.5 minute stint, came back in for Ware for the final 30 seconds, likely to just avoid fouls. Then closed the second quarter. Then he got a standard backup run rotation. Feels like Haywood Highsmith plays, somewhere in the 12 to 18 minute range. However, if Nikola Jovic is back, those are two guys that are going to be in a similar positional spectrum. Davion Mitchell was the next guy off the bench. We have no worries. We know what he's doing. He's playing massive minutes. Then we got Duncan Robinson. Now, Duncan Robinson played tons of minutes in the first half, including a really nice second quarter. Very efficient, made a couple buckets. Then he only got 3 minutes in the third quarter and never saw the floor again outside of just closing the final minute of garbage time. So his minutes are, at the very least, a little weird. I would argue that makes sense for the game script. You got a ton of Duncan Robinson early. Miami was up by a bunch. You play Duncan Robinson less in the second half, and you go more defensive, is what I'm guessing is what happened. Kyle Anderson was the revelation. He played a ton in the first half. My mouse is being weird. We got 4 minutes at the end of the first quarter. We got 6 minutes and 23 seconds at the end of the second quarter. So he played 10.5 minutes in the first quarter and then never saw the floor again in the third quarter, but played the entire fourth quarter. If you have any idea what kind of rotation Kyle Anderson's going to have today, your guess is as good as mine. But also, he's another guy that overlaps a little bit with Nikola Jovic. So I gave Jovic a couple minutes right now because he's questionable and I would expect him to play. After that, I tried to put these guys in order and went a little bit more to Kyle Anderson because of how well it went. He was plus 15. A little bit more to Duncan Robinson because he went well. And I'm going to assume that Haywood Highsmith is the guy that they lose out on, especially because his skill set is needed less against Atlanta. I don't think you would be deploying him on Trae Young. And after that, I don't think he's needed as much. I think Kyle Anderson can handle that. So that's how I have it projected now. Now, if Jovic is just out, then I think you feel a bit better about Kyle Anderson. You're probably getting him to 18 minutes, at which point the value is going to look really good. And then you feel a bit better about those Highsmith minutes. You're probably getting him into 17 or 18. And then you're doing the same thing for Duncan Robinson. But that's just the one spot that I can't really do anything with yet because we need that injury news. It's the only spot that's truly worrisome. Obviously, the John news matters for Memphis, but that matters in a very different way. So for me right now, I like Kyle Anderson quite a bit. He's not going to be 8% owned, though, if Jovic is out. He's going to be much higher than that. Likely the highest owned guy for Miami. Because he'll probably be the best point per dollar play. Even if you just give Kyle Anderson, let's say 19 minutes at 0.92 fantasy points per minute. That's 17.48 at 3,800. It's 4.6x value. But at a price tag that is much more manageable. He will get paired with AD a lot. S&P, you like Duncan Robinson in that scenario if people are going to Anderson? Interesting. Let's check out how good Atlanta is at allowing threes. The Atlanta Hawks, middle of the pack, 13th in three-pointers allowed. Okay. Can handle that. Where does Duncan Robinson take his threes? I love digging into games like this. This is so much more fun than what we had for the final 2 months of the season. All right, Duncan Robinson. 57% of his threes come from above the break, only 15% from the corner. So just out of curiosity, does Atlanta give up more above the break threes? Maybe they just cut out corners. That would be helpful for Duncan Robinson. Atlanta gives up more corner threes than non-corner threes. So does anybody from Miami specialize in corner threes? Burks, Rozier, Jovic, Highsmith. Okay. You know, if Jovic is out, it could be an interesting Haywood Highsmith like matchup related situation. They don't really take a ton of corner threes though. Because it's not like Highsmith takes a lot of shots to begin with. And the FanDuel side is like a completely different team, as I mentioned. Hero looks way better. Andrew Wiggins is $800 cheaper. He ranks second. He's 58% optimal, 58% owned. Bam's 30% owned. Davion Mitchell's 30% owned. Kyle Anderson isn't all that interesting on FanDuel because he's 4,800. You don't have to really worry about the bench guys, only sort of Duncan Robinson. So FanDuel, very different for Miami. Very, very different for FanDuel. Andrew Wiggins, top 5 play. Andrew Wiggins on DraftKings ranks 15th. Just a guy. See if we have anything on OddsShopper for Miami right now. We do. We've got under 5.5 assists for Davion Mitchell at Profit X, 3.3% EV. It's a nice spot. All right, so that's where we're at for Miami. I really don't have anything else to add for these guys on the DraftKings side. I find them very unappealing. The Atlanta side, on the other hand, is my most exposed team, and they're the most exposed team for the public. We're basically getting 3 Hawks in every lineup that we have. We're just inundated. We've got 4 guys from Atlanta in the top 10 on DraftKings. We've got 3 guys in the top 10 on FanDuel. Okongwu just outside of it. Massive ownership here. 55% to Trae Young, 55% to Karis LeVert, 50 to Dyson Daniels, 35 to Risa Shea, 30 to Okongwu, 25 to Mo Gay, 20 to Niang, and even a little bit to Terrence Mann and Dominic Barlow, which we'll talk about. This is the team you get to, because I don't see how you avoid it. Trae Young at 8,800. Look, I get it. It's not a great matchup for Trae. It's just not. But he's $300 cheaper than Tyler Hero. And he's projected for, at least right now, 9 more fantasy points. That's hard to overcome. That's really hard to overcome. That's why you're seeing Trae Young be 56% owned. And that's why you're seeing Tyler Hero be 14% owned on DraftKings. Because the cheaper guy is infinitely higher projected. It's hard to do anything with that. Now, if we want to take a look at the way this matchup sets up, you know, it's you don't feel great about it. Now, Miami's middle of the pack guarding the pick and roll. Trae, obviously talented pick and roll guy, runs more pick and roll than anybody in the league. 12.3 possessions per game as the pick and roll ball handler this year. No one ran more pick and rolls per game as the ball handler than Trae Young did. 71st percentile. They scored 0.94 points per possession when Trae was the ball handler in the pick and roll. He wasn't particularly efficient, but you know, they're going to try to run that. Miami was middle of the pack. So, like, to me, nothing really there to glean. And if I'm being honest, I think they're a much stronger pick and roll defense than they would have been for the entire season. 1, Davion Mitchell is there now. 2, they're running the double bigs. You know, like Andrew Wiggins versus Jimmy Butler in terms of defense in this scenario is a wash. So I would argue they're probably better than what they show. So it's not like Trae Young's playing into his strength. If it were like an ultra bad matchup, I might be a little bit more concerned. But because of his price tag, that's good enough for me. I'm happy to get to Trae Young. Similarly, Dyson Daniels is just going to play a ton. 6,900, point guard, shooting guard eligible, 44% optimal, 49% owned in 40% of my lineups. He's just too cheap. Like, he's 7,600 on FanDuel. Trae Young's 9,600 on FanDuel. Those guys are still in the top 10, and they're $600 and $700 more expensive. That's how underpriced they are on DK. That's why we're getting this sort of ownership. The guy I like the most, at least relative to ownership, is Onyeka Okongwu. 7,100 center only. Now, clearly not a great spot for him either. You know, when you got the double bigs, it's worse. It's just going to be worse for big dudes. Oddly enough, Okongwu not super involved in the pick and roll. 2.7 pick and rolls as the roll man per game. 81st percentile. Very, very efficient as the roll man when they do it. Maybe they go to that more because you want to go to the guys that, you know, are the best on your team when you get to the playoffs. Miami was well below average against the roll man this year. 27th percentile against the roll man. I think this matchup looks good. I think if they're going to try to spam more pick and rolls with Trae and Okongwu, I think Okongwu, or whoever and Okongwu, I guess, could be LeVert in this scenario. I think it bodes well for Onyeka Okongwu, matchup-wise. Now, that's not why I have 46% of him, but it does make me feel better about it. I think that's at least advantageous. You know, if I'm going to have a stand like that on somebody, I at least want the data to, like, look normal. Not to mention, really nice rebounding matchup for Okongwu. Miami, 27th in offensive rebounding rate. That's great. You know, if Miami having some trouble knocking down some shots, Onyeka Okongwu is going to be cleaning up the glass. Now, Miami is a great defensive rebounding team, but you know, your volume is going to come on the from the defensive side. That means bad offensive rebounding. Good for Okongwu. FanDuel side, this is all largely the same thing. Trae Young, top 10, 40% owned. Dyson Daniels, 60% owned, ranks third. Karis LeVert is 50% owned on both sites. We're going to talk about him in a second. Okongwu, 30% owned on FanDuel, has the power forward eligibility there. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So let's take a look at the rotations from their ass beating against Orlando. I mean, they looked like shit. Orlando just really dominated from that midpoint in the first quarter. 18-2 run the end of the first quarter, 17-7 run in the middle of the second quarter. LeVert played 25 minutes. Normal rotations in the first, second, and third quarter. But he came in the fourth quarter, and he was in until everybody came out. He came out when Trae came out. He came out when Onyeka Okongwu came out. They pulled the plug on Mo Gay a little earlier than that. Same for Dyson Daniels, which makes sense. You need points, take Daniels off. But that leads me to believe that Karis LeVert is earmarked to close this basketball game. If he plays those extra 4 minutes, that's 29 minutes against Orlando. We got him in for 29 minutes today, 4,600, shooting guard, small forward eligible, 55% optimal, 55% owned. I think you're just getting massive minutes out of Karis LeVert. He's really the only other guy that has any other true creation ability on this team. I mean, anytime that Trae Young is off the floor, which is going to be minimal, you're going to have Karis LeVert out there. So you're expecting 8 minutes of Karis LeVert running the show for Atlanta. He's the dude. He's the easiest guy to get to from the Hawks. Because he just fits with everything. $4,600 price tag, super flexible. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility, super flexible. Even 5,300 on FanDuel, he still ranks fourth. He's still 54% owned. So that's the easiest guy to get to. I'm more than okay getting to Resache. I think they were going to close with him. He played 29 minutes. He also played the blowout. I don't read into that. We only have him in for 26 minutes right now because I think there is some downside for him to be not on the floor. But I got 45% of Resache at 36% ownership, and that's with me thinking he can play 2 or 3 more minutes. So I think he looks pretty sneaky given his current ownership. Mo Gay, he played 25 and a half minutes. This is a guy that I really want to have a conversation about because if you look at the, if you look at this popcorn machine for Atlanta, Mo Gay was +2. I mean, most of this team was negative, but when Mo Gay was out there, it didn't go poorly. It's possible they were going to close with him. You know, it also looks like they might have gone with Niang, but maybe that's just because they were losing. But he played 25 and a half minutes and could have played upwards of 30. Now, this is where I want to have the conversation. If you look at my screen right now, I have Mo Gay projected for 19 minutes. Again, this is a guy that played 25 and a half and was pacing to play 30 potentially if this game is competitive. But even let's just say 25. I'm 6 below that. His props right now don't support projecting him for mid-20s minutes because that's what I did to start the day. I went immediately to like 25 or 26 minutes for Mo Gay. And then when I went back through, because what I like to do is project the rotations and the minutes first based on what I think, and then cross-reference with betting markets to see if I'm on the right track. Well, I did that. And Mo Gay's points prop was 4 points below what was supported by the minutes that I gave him. So I had to dramatically cut his minutes. In my mind, that I don't agree with it. But the only way that you can make his points prop look like that is to cut his playing time. I think he could very realistically play significantly more than 19 minutes. And I think he is very sneaky today. That is a guy that I want you guys to pay attention to throughout the day. Maybe his markets move. Maybe that's just a weird artifact of early day. Maybe they move and maybe he climbs the board and that points prop goes up by 1 or 2 and it looks different. We'll see. But for right now, I'm very interested in him in GPPs. For George Niang, he played well. He knocked down some shots. They gave him a little bit of extra run. They were terrible when he was out there. I don't know if that's going to matter at all, but I figure he's playing in that like 18 to 22 minute range. It looks like a completely reasonable 20% owned value guy. Terrence Mann played in the first half. He did not play in the second half. Vit Krejci did not play in the first half, did play in the second half. Kind of just makes me not want to roster either guy. And then Dominic Barlow, 3,200 power forward center eligible, played 12 minutes. I think he could play around that again. Good enough option as a sneak value play. Yeah, S&P, that's interesting. I can't imagine they'd be doing that again, but something to think about. Let's see if we have any Atlanta bets out there on OddsShopper. We do not. We only have 2 more that are out there. Scottie Pippen and Brandon Williams. A Dallas rotation was not the rotation I was expecting. All right, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. We're at the midway point. We've got the final East play-in game broken down now. Let's talk schedule for the rest of the day. I want to hit you guys with everything we're going to be doing for today. Immediately after this show, 11 a.m. on this channel, Laffy will be doing the MLB strategy show. He will also be back at 1 o'clock on the OddsShopper channel for the Portfolio EV show. It's going to be him and Ben. EMAC and Danny Burke are going to be doing the MLB Live Before Lock show at 5 o'clock. I will be back solo once again at 6 o'clock for NBA Live Before Lock. And then Ben will be joining me once again at 7 o'clock on Playback, playback.tv/Stokastic, watching the Atlanta-Miami game. I mean, I guess talking a little bit about potential ownership changes, talking bets, talking whatever. You never know what me and Ben are going to get into, but he will be joining me for the play-in games. And that'll be on Playback. Let's go to Dallas. Dallas Mavericks are 6-point underdogs today in Memphis. 220 total. They don't have any injury news. Brandon Williams ended up being available and played in the opener. Their rotation ended up being very different than what I was expecting, which we'll get into here. How many of you guys expected Spencer Dinwiddie to play 0 minutes? Tell you what, I sure didn't. That was a weird one. And when I say 0 minutes, I mean 0 real minutes. I understand he played the final 2 minutes. Don't be idiots. So one guy's getting a ton of ownership for Dallas, and that's Anthony Davis, and he deserves every bit of it. Power forward center eligible, 10K. He's the most expensive guy on the slate. He's $800 more expensive than Bam. He's also projected for 15 more fantasy points than Bam. We have him 8 fantasy points clear of the next highest projected guy, which is Trae Young at 8,800. I don't think there's really any issue finding enough value to get to AD. I think that's why you're seeing him be 50% owned. He's a 6x value option at 10K. And you can put him in at power forward. 60% optimal, 54% owned. He's in 89% of my lineups. To me, he's my favorite play of the day. Just because of his pay up status. He's projected for 59 fantasy points. His goal is 60. Like, he just needs to get to his projection. And even then, that's probably not even true. You can probably, depending on how the slate goes, win with an Anthony Davis day where he has like 52. So I just want AD. He played 35 minutes in the opener and sat the final 2 minutes because the game was over. So, pace 37. This one means more. 38 today for me. He's my most exposed guy. He's the best dude you can get to. Give me all the AD. And same story on FanDuel, by the way. 10-7 on FanDuel, 55% optimal, 40-something% owned, ranks 6th. Looks great. Now, the rest of these guys, PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, they do profile a little bit better on FanDuel. DraftKings, it's much more balanced. Najee Marshall and Klay Thompson are both 30% owned. They're both right at 30% optimal. They both have an MPE. Klay is shooting guard, small forward. Najee, small forward, power forward. They're both just north of 5K. They both look very similar to me. I slightly prefer Najee to Klay, but I don't have much of a preference between the two. Najee played 29 minutes. My guess is that he would have come back in. They actually went with Brandon Williams for most of that close. And Dante Exum, which I also didn't expect. But I think that you could get Najee Marshall back out there for more minutes. Klay played 33 minutes, was pacing 35. So I think both of those guys are fine. I think 30% ownership makes a ton of sense for both of them. I don't have anything to disagree with. PJ Washington still scares me. His rebounding is still down by playing more time at the 3. He's 7K, small forward, power forward eligible, but 25% optimal, 20% owned. That's where I'm going to have him. 6,600 on FanDuel with better positionality. He ranks 5th overall. He's 55% optimal, 55% or 45% owned. PJ Washington looks much better on FanDuel than he does on DraftKings. Much, much better to me. He still scares the hell out of me. I want to be very clear here. I'm very nervous about his rates now, but I would be happy to have him. Daryl Smith says AD projection seems kind of high. It might be a 1.5, 2 points high. I could see that. It's a win or go home, though. So I am a believer. I'm a bit of a believer here today. So let's talk through Brandon Williams. I did not expect him. I didn't know if he was going to play. I figured he was behind Jaden Hardy. I didn't know what they were going to do with Dante Exum or Caleb Martin. And obviously, we all expected Spencer Dinwiddie to be in the rotation. But then, Dante Exum is the first guy off the bench. Then Max Christie, then Caleb Martin, then Daniel Gafford. And then Brandon Williams becomes the 10th guy, the 5th guy off the bench. Plays a big rotation across the first and second quarter, closes the second quarter, and then gets another legitimate rotation in the second half. So he ended up playing 17 and a half minutes. They were plus 24 when he was on the floor. He was 5 of 8 from the field. He knocked down his threes. Seems like he's going to play again. He's 4K. He's 17% optimal, 19% owned, 23% of my lineups. By all accounts, he's just going to be back out there again. I assume he established his playing time. Similarly, Dante Exum, first guy off the bench. First quarter rotation, second quarter rotation, third quarter rotation, was planning to close. Dante Exum played the final 5 minutes and 40 seconds of competitive basketball before giving way to the final 5 guys that closed this game. Now, we got him in for 17 and a half, only 3% owned, 10% optimal. I think Dante Exum can play 21 or 22 minutes today. I assume he's going to end up more owned. If he doesn't, he's the most interesting value GPP play you can find. Point guard, shooting guard eligible, 3,900 and playing 22 minutes. He's 4K on FanDuel, 8% owned. I expect his ownership to come up quite a bit. I mean, Gafford got real minutes. He played 20. They were going to close with him. He's 5,900. I don't know how you do that with any confidence. Lively, they didn't appear to want to close with him. I think he's still very limited. I think, maybe you can see him get to like 22 minutes. He's 4,500. He's 10% owned. I think there's some upside in Lively. I don't think that you can go to Gafford. I do think you can go to Lively. I do think Lively can play 4 more minutes than he did last time out. And if that happens, that's going to be a good value at 4,500. Yeah, S&P, I think so. Max Christie was terrible. He didn't play in the second quarter, didn't play in the fourth quarter till blowout run. I don't think you could play him. Caleb Martin, kind of the same thing. Wasn't very good. Didn't play a ton. I don't expect it. And then I don't see any scenario where you imagine Spencer Dinwiddie is playing this basketball game if they didn't play him last time. So the focus is AD. I think your next 2 best options are Clay and Najee Marshall. I really like the value on Brandon Williams and Dante Exum. And that is pretty much the same story from DraftKings to FanDuel. So we broke down the first 3 teams: Miami, Atlanta, and Dallas. The only team we have left is Memphis. They're the second most owned team on the slate. We got to talk about these Grizzlies. We got to talk about the Grizzlies. We got to talk about Ja Morant, who's questionable for today, which obviously is going to change everything. Reminder that we have Brandon Williams under 8.5 points, 9 odd shopper rating, 5% EV on FanDuel right now. So betting market, you can grab a Brandon Williams under points prop. If you want to use Odd Shopper or the Portfolio EV tool, I got a promo for you. It's your last chance to grab this promo. It's the last chance for Miami, Atlanta, Dallas, Memphis. It's their last chance to be in the playoffs. It's their final shot. It's their last shot to do it. It might be Ja Morant's last shot, pun intended. And it's your last shot for the promo. The promo code is last shot. If you guys want the Portfolio EV tool at oddshopper.com, that is going to be the promo code that you use. The link is in the description for Portfolio EV. Reminder, last shot, 1 word, no space, LASTSHOT. Promo code is last shot. It's the last shot for all these teams. Ja Morant likes his guns. But what is the promo, you guys might ask? Well, we're going back to the wheel. We're going to spin the wheel and find out what your discount is going to be on the tool. Are you guys ready? All right, well, that's too big. And that's too small. It's like, what's that joint? Goldilocks? Oh my gosh. Can I do this? There we go. There we go. Now we got it. Here we go. Spin the wheel. Promo code last shot. You guys can get up to 21 days free of the Portfolio EV tool based on this spin. Here we go. Oh, here we go. The spin is on. Promo code last shot, Portfolio EV tool. You guys are going to get 25% off 1 month of the Portfolio EV tool at oddshopper.com as long as you use the promo code last shot. Again, 25% off a month. If you've never signed up before, you will get 1 free week and then 25% off a month. If you have signed up before, you will get 25% off 1 month of the Portfolio EV tool at oddshopper.com. Get expected value and expected win rates. Track all of your bets, parlay builders, odds boost calculators, mass bets. Got the mobile app, notifications straight to your phone. Bloop, click it, make your bet. 25% off 1 month using that promo code. Let me send the message and get that bad boy created. All right. The promo code is being created. I will let you guys know when it is active. But the promo code is being created right now as we speak on the back end. Now let's move this screen around. Almost got it. There we go. We're back. All right, let's get to Memphis. Final team. Remember, link in the description. You'll see an OddsShopper Portfolio EV link. Click that and use that promo code. So the Grizzlies are tough because the biggest piece of information that we have here today is that Ja Morant is questionable for today's game. Even with Ja Morant questionable, we have 5 guys from the Grizzlies in the top 10 on DraftKings. Only 3 of them on FanDuel. So this could obviously change. I'll say this. I have the line at 6. The line is 6. I feel like he's playing. Obviously, if he doesn't play, the entire slate is different. Scottie Pippen is completely different. Desmond Bane is different. Triple J is different. Aldama is different. Luke Kennard becomes a 70% owned value play. John Conchar is way different. Vince Williams is everything changes. I'm not even going to bother discussing it other than obviously you jam Memphis if Ja Morant ends up out. If that happens after lock. Obviously, if it happens before lock, we don't have to care. We're just going to discuss it that way. So we're going to assume for all of this discussion that Ja Morant is in. Your number 1 play of the day is Scottie Pippen. Got the start. The anticipation was Vince Williams before the day started 2 days ago, or whatever day they played. We ended up getting Scottie Pippen. Now, didn't work for Memphis. They lost. But Pippen played 34 minutes. Got him in for 32 today. 62% optimal. 59% owned. 4,800. Point guard only. Just the guy to get to. Simple. I don't have anything else I could possibly add. I see no way to avoid Scottie Pippen, and you'll get to even more of him if Ja ends up out. Your next highest owned guy for Memphis is Zach Edey. 6,200, center only, 37% optimal, 40% owned. Edey ended up playing 32 and a half minutes against Golden State. We got him in for 31 today. He's been playing 30, and it just seems like he's going to be playing a ton. So I have no reason to suspect that he won't be doing that. Promo code is created, everybody. Promo code last shot. 25% off a month of Portfolio EV. You see it on the screen right now. The code is live. Go click the link in the description or the one in chat. So yeah, look, Edey's going to have his hands full with Anthony Davis and Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. You know, where you rank him in that order of big men is going to tell you a lot about how you feel about him. If you think he's the 4th best big out of those 4 guys, that probably makes him at least a little scary. If you think he's 2nd, then I think you probably like Zach Edey a lot. And I think that's a very interesting way to rank them. Because obviously AD is 1. But if you think Zach Edey is better than Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, then I think you might like this spot for Edey. If you think he isn't, then you don't. And I think that's the swing piece here. If you don't like him, then you probably like Santi Aldama, power forward, center eligible, 4,700. 36% optimal, 36% owned, ranks 8th, 39% of my lineups. Now he's 5,400 on FanDuel, so he's a little less owned, but he still looks good. Similarly, Edey, $300 more expensive. He's a little less owned. But if you don't like Edey, I think you like Aldama. If you do like Edey, you at least like Aldama. You definitely don't like Aldama more. Desmond Bane played 39 minutes in the opener. You're fully expecting him to play 39 or 40 again. 30% optimal, 30% owned, 8K, MPE. You just play a lot of Bane because he's going to be out there. That's all. He's properly priced. Triple J is a little weird. Triple J has the same sort of situation going on with his props in the same way that Mo Gay did. Obviously, slightly different plays. But Triple J played 39 minutes in the first play-in game. I got him in for 34 right now. Because if you project Triple J for 38 minutes, he projects for like 5 more real points than what he is in the markets. So I think he's sneaky as hell, even though I'm under the field on him. Because I think that he is live to play 40 minutes today if he stays on the floor. Dallas doesn't strike me as a foul team, but you never know. They are big. But Triple J played 39 minutes before, and we have him in for 34. And that is only to support the betting markets. So keep an eye on him. Luke Kennard played 17 minutes, just standard backup run. I think that happens again today. A completely reasonable 10% guy. The weird thing that happened was John Conchar was ahead of Vince Williams. John Conchar played 13 minutes. You're not going to use him today, I don't think. But Vince Williams played 3 minutes in the second quarter and didn't see the floor at all otherwise. S&P. I agree with you, but it also, it is a push-pull in that if they're not playing Edey, he's just the next guy up. Not that I think that they matter for each other, but I think they are directly linked to each other from a playing time perspective. If you want to get Santi Aldama more playing time, unless it's Jaren Jackson being in foul trouble, it's coming at the expense of Zach Edey. But for me, I want a ton of Scottie Pippen. I want a bunch of Santi Aldama. I want a bunch of Zach Edey. I think he's going to be out there. And then I'm going to fill out with Ja, with Bane, with Triple J, who I'm going to probably project for, he's a guy I'll probably boost in our sims. And then a little bit of Luke Kennard. Because Luke Kennard can always shoot his way into more minutes. And I think they would probably come at the expense of Scottie Pippen or potentially Zach Edey. Because you could always just play Jaren Jackson at the 5 more. But that's where we stand, guys. Miami, Atlanta, Dallas, Memphis. 4 teams have been talked about. But one thing needs to happen right now. And that's the czar of the single lineup sim, building some lineups. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. We're building out a lineup on DraftKings for the main. Here we go. All right, as I see it first, I don't see any oddly owned guys. Onyeka Okongwu is absolutely in the lineup. I think Ja is as well. And I think PJ Washington, unfortunately, is as well. Now I have to start eating ownership. Karis LeVert has got to be one of those guys. Man, Atlanta is just chock full of value. I think Dyson Daniels has to be one of those guys. If I go to power forward, that's going to be Santi Aldama for me. If I go to regular forward, man, I do not have a ton of salary left. If I go Klay Thompson, what are my options? My highest projected guy in this situation now is Zach Edey. And I spend the full freight. Let's see how we do. %9. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That wasn't I don't think this is going to be very easy. All right, I'll take Edey back out. I'll take Klay back out. I honestly don't have anything else really that I want to take out. So what was the optimal? It was Edey and Klay. So I do need to lose one more guy. If I take out LeVert, it's going to be the same lineup. Yeah, it is. Edey, Klay. Who the hell do I need to take out here? I guess PJ Washington? Okay, that gets me Luke Kennard, AD, and Scottie Pippen. Feels like too much ownership, but maybe Luke Kennard being 11% is what makes this a good ROI lineup. Oh, baby. Let's go. Czar in the building. 77% ROI. Guys, for real. Sometimes I surprise even myself with how amazing I am. All right, new lineup. Let's go to FanDuel. Let's do the same thing. Let's be amazing once again. FanDuel. All right. Zach Edey's the center for sure. Okongwu power forward for sure. Trae Young. I don't think I'm going to end up getting to AD. It appears that I need to take the Wiggins value. It appears that I need to take the PJ Washington value. It appears that I'm going to have to take the Dyson Daniels value. Optimal finishes with Pippen, Klay, Mo Gay. Can I one-shot FanDuel? Put it on the board. 60% plus. 41. Ugh. All right. Mo Gay goes. Scottie Pippen goes. PJ Washington goes. I'm going to pull a Okongwu and swap him to AD. That gives me Kennard, Risashe, Gay. Let's see where we end up. Come on. Give me the AD raw points as the better lineup here. 60%. Let's do this. Come on. Negative 4.2. Holy balls. AD out, Gay out, Risashe out, Kennard out. Okongwu back in. All right, so it's not an AD thing. It could be a Scottie Pippen thing. But I don't know. All right, I'm going to take Dyson Daniels out of there. And in lieu of Dyson Daniels, I'm going to save some salary. Or no, I'm going to save some ownership with Desmond Bane. They fill out with Pippen, LeVert, Moget. I don't like this one either. I'm not confident. I'm not confident here. Yeah, negative 11. Back to the drawing board. One more for FanDuel before we get out of here. I stand by my story that Okongwu's got to be there. I don't really see a path to a different center. I guess it could be Triple J, but Edie's just a better option. Gafford would be my only other choice. I'm going to get weird and go to Gafford and try to get a little different and see if that will allow me to get AD. And then Trey does feel like pretty essential. Although Ja being a little bit cheaper. Let's get Ja. Then shooting guard, I'll take the ownership from Pippen. Small forward, easily PJ Washington. If I complete that lineup, it completes with Brandon Williams, Luke Kennard, and Andrew Wiggins. Let's see if Gafford was enough to make us different. Well, Gafford, Williams, and Kennard will make us different, but I think we're too different. 49-8. I'll take that. I'll take that. I do think if I take Ja Morant out, and if I take out... Who's the better value between Luke Kennard and Brandon Williams? Brandon Williams is the better value. If I take out Morant, Kennard, and Wiggins, what does that actually end up being? Wiggins, LeVert, Daniels. I actually think this is going to be better. I think we had the ability to take on that ownership. I think this is going to be better, and that's going to be how we end it. Let's see. Oh, boy, was I right. 171.2. The Czar is in the building, and you get the Czar again tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern time, live before lock. Just me breaking down all the news that we've had so far. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Don't forget, the promo code is last shot, 25% off a month of Portfolio EV. If you've never signed up before, you'll get a week and for free, and then a month at 25% off. If you have signed up before, it's just 25% off for a month. The Czar is out of here, folks. He's too damn good at this. Hey, everybody, MLB Strategy Show right now. Go tell Laffy we said hi.